Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a car AV editor here at Crutchfield, and today we're installing a powered subwoofer in this 2021 Mazda CX-5. Now, while each vehicle and each powered subwoofer is a little bit different, the process for installing a powered subwoofer is pretty much the same in any given vehicle. The first step in any installation is to disconnect the car's negative battery cable. That way you're not going to cause any electrical shorts while you're doing your work. Next, you want to find a grommet on the firewall of the vehicle that's already got wires running through it into the vehicle's cabin. We're going to poke a small hole in this grommet and run our power wire straight through it. Now, when poking a hole in the grommet, we recommend using a grommet piercing tool, which has a hollow tube through which you can pass the wire from the engine compartment into the vehicle cabin. Next, you're going to connect your power wire to the car's positive battery terminal using a ring terminal. Next, you'll route the wire through the engine compartment so that it's neat and out of the way. We recommend sliding wire loom over the wire to keep it safe from nicks and scratches and to keep it looking really nice. You'll also want to make sure to install a fuse within 18 inches of the battery. Now, with some of our amp kits, the power wire already has the fuse holder installed. In others, you'll have to install the fuse holder yourself. And with everything in place, you can secure the wire using cable ties. Next, we're going to move into the vehicle cabin itself. The first thing we recommend is deciding on where you're going to mount the sub. You're not going to mount it yet, but having it in place will help you determine how you're going to route your wires through the vehicle. In our case, we've decided to put the powered sub in the cargo area. Now we can move on to routing the power wire. We're going to take our wire from under the dash and route it down the driver's side of the vehicle. To do that, we'll use some pry tools to pop up some of these floor trim panels. And in most vehicles, these panels will just pop right out. A tool we recommend using when running power wire is a wire worm. This lets you thread the wire underneath other panels that you can't easily pop out of place. Now we turn our attention to the ground wire. You'll want to find a grounding location that's as close to the powered sub as possible. You'll want to make sure that your ground wire is making solid contact with bare metal, so we recommend using an existing chassis bolt. If you absolutely can't find one, you can also drill a small pilot hole and use a self-tapping screw to create your own ground. We also recommend that at the grounding location, you use sandpaper to scrape away some of the paint and expose bare metal. Bare metal will always make the best ground connection. And this is all very important because most problems in an audio system come from a bad ground. Next, we need to get audio signal to our powered subwoofer. Now, in this case, because we're keeping the factory stereo in place, we need to tap into one of the factory speaker wires. Now, in most cases, this means pulling the factory stereo from the dash and tapping into the factory speaker wire back there. In our case, this vehicle has an outboard factory amplifier, so we're going to tap into the speaker wires on the output side of that amplifier. We also tend to recommend that you tap into the left and right rear channels to make sure you're getting a full range signal, and make sure when you tap into the wires that you've correctly identified the positive and negative leads. Now, with any wiring, solder is going to give you your best connection. But if you're not comfortable with soldering, we also recommend using posi taps. You slide one end of the posi over the wire that you're tapping into, then screw the rest of it down onto that wire, which pierces it. Then you connect your new wire to the very top and screw that into place. With new speaker wires connected to the factory speaker wires, you can now run it down the opposite side of the vehicle from the power wire back to the powered sub's mounting location. Next, we'll make our wiring connections at the powered sub itself. Now, if you are connecting your powered subwoofer to an aftermarket stereo, instead of running speaker wires, you're going to be running RCA patch cables from the preamp outputs of the stereo to the preamp inputs of the powered sub. You'll also be running a turn-on lead from the powered sub to the stereo, and this just sends a little signal to the powered sub when it's time for it to turn on and start playing. With our power and signal wires all run, it's time to make the connections at the powered sub itself. Now, in most cases, this means just plugging in the wires to the appropriate terminals on the powered sub. But in many cases, as with the JBL Bass Pro Nano, you'll be making wiring connections to a harness that then plugs into the powered sub. Once again, soldering is the preferred method for making these connections. However, butt connectors can work very well also. To do this, you slide bare wire into either end of the butt connector and crimp the wires in place. And you'll repeat this process for the power and ground and right and left speaker channels. And with all wiring connections now made, we want to make sure to secure the powered sub in place. In our case, we're using self-adhesive Velcro strips, which grab right onto the carpet. But if we were looking for a more permanent installation, we could slide a piece of plywood under the carpet in the cargo area and screw the powered sub directly to it. Many powered subs, like the Base Pro Nano, come with a remote base level knob. These simply plug into the powered sub at one end and allow you to mount them wherever it's convenient at the other. It can be in a console, it can be under the dash, it can be in the glove box. With the wiring all in place and the sub secured, it's now time to reconnect the negative battery cable and adjust all the audio settings. First, you want to make sure that you have the auto turn-on switch set to the right setting. In this case, we have ours turned to on, which tells it to turn on when it senses signal from the speaker level inputs. If we'd been using this with an aftermarket stereo and a remote turn-on lead, we would set this switch to off. Now we're going to set the gain, which matches the subwoofer's input sensitivity to the output level of the stereo connected to it. Now to set the gain, start by turning the gain down all the way to 0 and make sure your remote bass knob is disconnected. Then you can put on some music with good bass content that you're familiar with. And turn your stereo up to about 3/4 volume. Then you can slowly raise the gain until it's either as loud as you want it to be or you start to hear a little distortion. If you do start to hear a little distortion, back it off until the distortion goes away and you'll be all set. Next, you want to set your low pass filter. This basically determines which frequencies the sub is receiving. We generally recommend that you set it somewhere between 80 and 100 Hz, but really it's just a matter of what sounds best to your ear. All powered subs are also going to have a phase switch, which you can set either to 0 or 180. This again is a matter of what sounds best to your ear, so you can experiment with it at 0 and with 180 and leave it where you think it sounds best. Many powered subs will also offer a bass boost, which lets you enhance the bass output. This again is a matter of taste, so you can turn it up and see if you like it, and if you don't, you turn it back down. So we've covered the basics of installing a powered subwoofer. And remember, when you buy anything from us, you get free lifetime tech support. So if you need help during your installation, you can give us a call. Thank you for watching.